It's another year and Samsung has released another generation of the foldable phone. The Galaxy Z Fold6 is here and it looks absolutely different from what we had before. So we've spent the past week gathering way too many data and today we're gonna share all of them with you. Before we do that though, please do like and subscribe as it does help us out a lot since we don't have any sponsors for our videos. Thanks in advance, and we're gonna reach 50,000 subscribers soon! Yay! And I don't really have any special video planned out for that, so maybe we'll do a special Q&A or something like that. Do let me know if you have any questions or whatever down in the comment section below, and we'll see how things go. Okay, enough about that. Now let's talk about the design of the brand new Galaxy Z Fold6. We have to talk about the colors first since they are now way bolder than the previous generations. It now comes in navy color, silver shadow, and pink. That pink color is quite pale, but I'm surprised that Samsung released such a color for the Fold. There are two more exclusive online colors, crafted black and white color. The Z Fold6 got a major revamp in terms of how it looks, as it is now boxier than before, to the point that it does remind me of how the Galaxy S24 Ultra looks. In a way, this boxy design works for the Fold6 as it is not as wide as the S24 Ultra. Holding the phone with just one hand doesn't dig into my palm as well, which is a good thing. The boxy design means that all corners of the phone are pointy but slightly rounded, and it does look like a book right now. The dimensions have been slightly tweaked, but it's not going to bring any significant changes as it still feels more or less the same as before when I hold the phone in my hands. For those who are hoping the Z Fold6 will be wider like the OnePlus Open or the Oppo Find N3 Fold, then I'm sorry, this is not it. But personally speaking though, I do like this Z Fold6's form factor more than any other wider foldables. Many people will say that the cover display is unusable because of its narrowness, but one comment piqued my curiosity. One of the beloved Xperia phones had 21:9 aspect ratio, but the Z Fold6's cover display is around 22:9. It's not that much different in terms of the aspect ratio, but one thing that is drastically different is the width. Practically speaking, if the Z Fold is proportionally bigger, then I guess a lot of people will be happier, but that would totally eliminate the possibility to use the cover display with just one hand, which is also something that I personally prefer over other foldable devices. Another thing that I realized is that the hinge cover doesn't protrude out of the phone as much as before, making it look more compact in a way. And now we have to talk about the screens. Since the gap is now shrunken and the bezels around the cover display is also smaller, it looks more equal on all sides. The screen resolution is slightly different from before, measuring at 6.3 inches with 2376 by 968 pixels in resolution, and it can go up to 120Hz refresh rate. Not a big change from what we had before, but there is a slight change. We will also quickly talk about the unfolded display now. Once again, there is a slight difference in terms of the dimensions and resolution. It still measures at 7.6 inch but with a resolution of 2160 by 1856, and it also has 120Hz refresh rate just like before. Both of these screens have amazing color accuracy, and it also has the vividness slider just like the S24 series. So that will also change the DCI-P3 color gamut coverage, and the highest vividness will be more or less 100% for both sRGB and DCI-P3 color gamut coverage. The maximum brightness of the cover and unfolded displays have been upgraded, so if you want to know the full details, then watch our other video where we talk about the screens of the Z Fold6 and Z Flip 6. The link is down in the description below, or you can tap the button at the top right corner there to watch that video. And I am sure that many people will point their fingers at the crease and say that it's still there. Come on guys, there is going to be a crease on all foldable devices. If you're going to look at a phone at this angle with harsh lighting, then yeah, that crease is obviously gonna be highlighted. In truth, if you use the phone like a human being, then yeah, the crease is just not gonna bother you that much. Samsung did claim that the Z Fold6's crease has been quote-unquote improved, but I'll be the judge of that. I used the Z Fold 4 and then switched over to the Z Fold 5, and both of those phones have pretty flat crease when I first got the phone, but the crease did eventually get deeper over some time. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with the Z Fold 6, so I'll be keeping my eye out on that. Another thing that piqued my interest is the render resolution of this phone when we are playing games. You see, on Samsung phones, we can change the render resolution of the games by using Game Booster Plus option within game plugins. We are seeing games like Genshin Impact rendering at 1920 by 1650 and COD Mobile rendering at 2160 by 1856. This is the highest render resolution possible on any phone ever. But that will also stress the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset to its limits. COD Mobile isn't exactly a problem, so we can get 120 FPS for most of the time. However, Genshin Impact at the highest graphical settings is so demanding to the point that the Z Fold 6 thermal throttles within 5 minutes into the game. Again, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is just not efficient when we push it to its limits, and it heats up a lot. The bigger vapor chamber that Samsung placed within the Z Fold 6 wouldn't help much because the 8 Gen 3's inefficiency while playing high-end games, yeah, the vapor chamber is just not gonna help much. And also the vapor chamber cannot be bigger than half of the phone because vapor chambers cannot bend and you cannot cheat physics. Unless we place some sort of fan inside the phone, then we won't be able to maintain the performance at all, since it will just thermal throttle when we play demanding games. Click at the top right corner there for that video about thermal throttling, and yeah, I'm very sure that video will be very relevant for many more years to come. And when we are not gaming, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is actually much more efficient than the 8 Gen 2. Even with the same 4400 mAh battery in the Z Fold 6, we're getting around 1.5 hours more on the cover display, and that is quite a big improvement. As for the big unfolded display, we're getting around an hour extra compared to what we had before, and that is also a good improvement. What's not improved though is the charging speed. It still only maxes out at 25 watts via USB PD PPS, and it takes around 70 minutes just like before. I know many people are gonna be angry about the charging speed, but honestly speaking, I never had to charge my phone in an emergency situation before, and yeah, my phones never reach below 10% battery at the end of the day. I also limit my charging speeds of all my devices, whenever possible, to 10 watts only because yeah, I just don't need fast charging. I mean, fast charging is a good feature to have, but it's not necessary, at least for me. Do let me know what you think down in the comment section below. We can also use the battery bypass feature, and this is especially good if you're gaming with the charger attached to the phone. Now, the software. The Galaxy Z Fold 6 is using the new One UI 6.1.1, and it does come with more or less the same features as before, but we do have more Galaxy AI features. For example, this sketch to image feature is now built into the Gallery app. Just edit the photo and start sketching. Of course, it will be better to have the S Pen, but it's also doable with our fingers. This feature is also available on the Z Flip 6, by the way. We do need an internet connection for this feature to work. The result is surprisingly good. Other beloved features are still here, for example, Edge Panel for quick access to many useful features, Samsung Wallet to make my payments, moods and routines for automation, and it actually has some special conditions for the Z Fold 6 like folded and unfolded detection, or even just halfway folded like in flex mode. You can do automation by using those conditions. The taskbar is still here and it works just like before, and I think Samsung's implementation of the taskbar feature is the best among all of the other foldables that I've used. It's intuitive and takes multitasking to the next level, and this is one of the reasons why I like the Fold series so much. Oh, Samsung also upgraded the software update policy of the Z Fold 6 to be 7 generations of OS upgrades and 7 years of security patches. Just like what I said about the Z Flip 6, I'm not sure if this foldable display can last for that many years. What I'm not particularly happy about is the cameras on the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Samsung has been reusing the same cameras for a few generations now, and I know camera sensors isn't the full story as the post-processing does a lot of work as well, but eventually the sensors do hit a limit. Let's take a look at the main camera first. This 50 megapixel sensor and the lens is actually doing a very good job since it got upgraded like about 2 generations ago, I think. Day shots, indoor shots, and even night shots look great on this camera. The ultra-wide-angle camera is the same as before, as it produces a result that is similar to the Z Flip 6. The colors are good, but because this is not an autofocusing ultra-wide lens, the details aren't sharp. The blades of grass will show you clearly what I mean by that. Night shots are the same story as well. The color consistency between the main and ultra-wide camera is great though. As for the telephoto camera, this is where I think Samsung needs to upgrade the sensor. Yes, it can still take some good looking pictures, especially during day shots, but once the light goes dimmer, the details are difficult to retain and the image is also rather noisy. Especially for night shots, that's where the limitation of this sensor starts to be highlighted. What's the same as before is the video capabilities. It does take good night shots with great colors and decent stabilization, although it does have a little jitteriness because of the EIS. I'm more surprised by the fact that this phone cannot switch between the 3 cameras while filming at 4K 60fps. I don't know what's the reason behind this, because the S24 Ultra can do it. You can switch between all cameras while filming at 4K 60fps. And since the S24 Ultra and the Z Fold 6 are using the same Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 with the same ISP, why can't this phone do it? Alright, a few more things to mention here. The Galaxy Z Fold 6 does come with a USB 3 port at the bottom and the transfer speeds are amazingly quick. There is also display output via USB-C, so we can use Samsung DeX with this phone. Unfortunately, we cannot trigger Samsung DeX without attaching it to an external display. There is a dual SIM card slot for our particular region, but there is no microSD card slot and no audio jack, just like how it had been since its launch. The S Pen is still not included with the phone, and Samsung didn't even bother releasing another version of it, so it's the same old S Pen Fold edition from 2 to 3 years ago. As for the question of should you buy the Galaxy Z Fold 6 or not, that truly depends on your personal preference. I personally think that this is a form factor and it is very unique. We can use the cover display to do quick replies and whatnot with just one hand, and then unfold it to the bigger display and do more serious things or just watch videos or play games. Samsung's One UI complements and synergizes with the form factor, making it a very holistic experience. Yes, it is not perfect as many apps still do not scale properly for the Galaxy Z Fold 6, but there are many other apps that are just gonna adapt to this interface with no issues at all. I still think that the Galaxy Z Fold 6's new boxy design is a plus point, but everything under the hood is pretty incremental to the previous generation. I really hope that the next generation of the Fold gets a big improvement. But this is what we have for this generation. If you're interested to get the Galaxy Z Fold 6, then I'll have links down in the description below and you can get the best deals possible from there. You don't even have to pay full retail price and you can get the greatest foldable phone that money can buy right now. And that's all that we have to share with you today. Do remember to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. We'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.